Good morning, YouTube. So today I'm going to be showing you another early sculpture. This is also cast in pewter, and it is called The Keepers of the God-Cocoon. So here it is. So experimenting around with the format of this particular Streamlabs window, I realized I can make this a little bit bigger, considerably bigger than the original other videos I've done of sculptures. And so I continue to evolve in the studio, so bear with me. I appreciate it. So this piece is 17 inches tall and 12 by 12 inches at the base. Also very hefty. The God-Cocoon, which is the little sort of crescent moon shaped figure that's sitting there, is solid pewter. And of course the headdress it's wearing is as well. And the village is solid. So the only real hollow spot on this piece is the base itself. Which, to kind of follow the theme that I have going from time to time in these early pieces, if I'm not mistaken, this is a decommissioned UFO that they've built their village on top of. And so the story goes that the fairies found this odd cocoon. They had never seen anything like it before, and they have no clue what it is, only that it's very important, and they need to caretake it. So they lugged it back and kept it in protection mode while they had it stationed on top of this decommissioned UFO. And then they built a caretaker village around the cocoon. Now, down below at the base of the decommissioned UFO, there's various plant lives and organisms. And coming around, you can see that there's an entrance right in the middle. There's like a little doorway with a doorknob right there. So that goes on the inside of the UFO. And the God-Cocoon has various totemic elements about it. At the tip of its tail is a kind of a dolphin head, which is part of the formation of whatever it's going to become. Maybe someday I'll sculpt the butterfly or moth. So the headdress, this is a three-piece, three-mold sculpture. So there's a sculpture for the base and the village, and then the God-Cocoon itself, and then the headdress. I have a lot of molds in storage, and a funny story. I finished this piece thinking I had finished it, in the sense of putting it together and doweling everything and touching it up and the patina, and then realized in the back of the archives of my mind that the headdress was missing, and just dawned on me. after quite some time of working on this piece, because it definitely looks complete without the headdress. And so I went back to storage and found the mold and cast the headdress and installed it. The headdress is pretty involved, so it was not a innocent epiphany by any stretch of the imagination. And then, of course, the headdress has to be integrated into the piece itself structurally. But there it is. It turned out. And I feel like making the picture about 20% bigger definitely helps bring out the detail to be able to see it better in the YouTube presentation format. And ultimately, that's the story of this piece, is more of a at a distance declaration of a project that occurred sometime in history, not so much about what the God-Cocoon became, the inner workings of the project, etc. Just that they found it, they knew it was very precious, that it needed to be caretaked, and so they did. This piece is also very hefty, and edition one of one. These pieces are super labor intensive, so that's a big part of why I don't do a series of editions, and also that I simply can't tolerate doing the same thing twice. So ultimately, that's just how I'm wired. I'd rather spend the time making a new sculpture than doing something I've already done. So ultimately, the reason to get a sculpture that is basically recorded in the void of a mold that is a decade or more old is enough for me to make the effort to cast it in metal, because that's the objective at the end of the day. Not so much on my mind when I'm creating the sculpture, but it's there. And once it's in metal, it's complete. The process is complete. Although I do keep the original molds just for the sake of honoring the sculpture. So in the art world, they'll often either have 6 to 8 to 12 editions of a sculpture. They make those editions and then they destroy the mold to, I guess, guarantee that no pirated editions or makeshift editions get made in the future. That may be the case for me further down the line, but for now, I keep the molds. I like the vibe of their artifact station in the studio. And my hope is to find good patrons, good collectors who see what is happening here with the art, and to find homes for the multitudes of sculptures that I have, including getting commissions for sculptures that exist in either molds that have not been cast in metal or wax that has yet to be turned into molds, and eventually buy a home and have a studio and a place to anchor and make this my livelihood. But I ultimately don't have a capitalistic mindset around art. Never have. Um, I've recycled more art than I've sold, and I'll let you determine what recycle means. I'm happy with the texture of the god cocoon's epidermis, or I guess you would more technically call it the shell of the cocoon. And cocoons can bend like this, maybe not at this of an extreme angle at the base, but they will flex uh, quite a bit. And although this one has a bit of a longer taper than some cocoons, so it could just simply be that it can flex a little more because of the way it's structured. So I'll buy that from that explanation from myself. Thank you. And the headdress was interesting too. It nestled in the headdress are two uh, beings, let's call them, or characters. I think characters is a better word. I would suggest turning your screen to high definition and maybe have it on cinema mode or a bit of a larger screen to see the detail. And this is it. I'll wait for the presentation of the front of the piece to come back around and then say good day to you. One thing I want to add is fantasy has somewhat in the past made it into the fine art realm, but I think that in sculpture there's not a lot of that happening, and I intend to change that. I feel like no matter what the subject matter, uh, fine art can be applied to it. I mean, within reason, of course. So there it is, the Keepers of the God-Cocoon. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like and subscribe, comment, share, and until we meet again.